Fake the confidence, it'll give you the confidence. How can you demand excellence from someone if you don't define what excellence is to your company? If they know that you care, then they're going to be naturally motivated. She found a duffel bag full of drugs in the pile. It was the type of duffel bag full of drugs where she's like, I don't know what it was.
Well, welcome back to another exciting episode of Cleaner Conversations. I'm your host, Justin Kane, along with a co-host,
Sam Taylor.
Sam, I think anybody listening to this is in for a treat. Sometimes we like to bring people who own a dry cleaner onto this podcast or somebody who has a name in the dry cleaning industry. But then we also like to bring some team members as well. And she came highly recommended that she would be a great asset, provide great content. And so we brought Bonnie on from City Cleaners, and very exciting, some of the stuff that she shared today.
So Bonnie's out of Akron, Ohio. She's got a bunch of tactical stuff. I know we say that a lot, but she has tactical ways of how can you help your employees feel a why? How do you get the most out of them? What is it like behind the scenes? What is it like spending 19 years in this business? And then she has some cool stories about finding a bag of drugs, which...
You might have to wait to the end or just fast forward.
You're going to wait to the end because Justin's trying to cut this part out. I need you guys to rise up with me and defend the off the clock section.
But she did a great job of giving us a little bit of a peek into how you run a team. They have a large team over there, 5 locations, 17 CSRs, and they're doing really, really good work. So we're excited to present this episode to you. We hope that you enjoy it. If you do, please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and pass it along, especially if you have a manager. This will be a great episode for them to listen to.
Yeah. And you guys can like and subscribe at Cleaner Conversations, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. So please do that, and hope you enjoy.
Enjoy.
Hey, Bonnie. Thank you for being with us today. What do you wish you had known behind the counter at 19 when you first jumped into this industry?
To be honest, as a 19-year-old, I was really shy. It was one of my first jobs. So just right then, I wish I would have known that the customers weren't out to get me. And that if I acted like I had confidence, then they would assume I had confidence. So that's something I learned over time.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I think it's good because you think that they're out to get you because they had an issue, right? Or something came back that wasn't right. And so you almost take it personal because of how they feel about it. So was that something that in your role that you began to understand because you realized they weren't, or did somebody coach you through that?
I think over time, I just realized they weren't. I gained more confidence. And I think too, for most of us with more knowledge comes more confidence. So the longer I had been in the role, I would, because I was scared when I first started dealing with customers. And I find with every new CSR, that's part of it, especially when they're really young, because they haven't found themselves in positions where they're the ones in control of the transaction in that way. So just learning more, it gives you that confidence. I found myself after a few months coming into a shift, instead of feeling anxious, what could go wrong? How am I going to handle it? I was just feeling more prepared, leaving more interactions with customers, feeling like a sense of fulfillment instead of questioning if I did it right.
Absolutely. Well, Bonnie, you actually, you found a path in this industry, started when you're young, as you progressively move through different positions. Was that because there was a path carved for you? Was it because opportunities kind of came your way and you took them as they did? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we have business owners that are watching this, just trying to figure out, how do I get somebody who starts maybe young, but they grow with us as a company over time? So what is your encouragement there? How did it look for you? Could it have been done differently? What was done well? Kind of give us a little bit of feel of what that journey looked like for you, so another dry cleaner can maybe do something similar with somebody who's a potential outstanding star.
Sure. So my journey into management was a long one for a couple of reasons. I was young. I think our manager at the time, she had a ton of great qualities. It's difficult when you have 5 different locations spread out to, you're not working alongside everyone. It's hard to notice or pick out their strong points or even their weaknesses to be able to work with them like you would someone you're on site with. So as an aside a bit, that's something that I try to keep in mind a lot as I manage my team. But back to the question, another reason is I was in a big growing stage in my personal life. I was raising my ex-husband's two little sisters at the time. I did that throughout my entire 20s. They're now in their mid-20s. They're about the age I was when I had custody of them. So we're still very close. The sisters. I got rid of the husband, kept the sisters. And I just focused on being a great CSR at City Cleaners throughout that time. And it really was mostly opportunity and the timing. So when our last manager put in her notice, Jeff, our owner, sat me down, asked if I would be interested in taking over the retail manager role. This was at the tail end of 2019. And I was. Neither him nor I really had a great blueprint as to what it looked like, admittedly. So part of that was really scary. But ultimately, with that, I got a lot of opportunity to learn by trial and error. Worked a lot of long shifts, had a lot of turnover at first.
What qualities would you encourage an owner of a dry cleaner to look for in a manager? What are some of the things that make sure a person in that position does a good job versus an average job?
So I am a big fan of starting with someone who cares. If you have someone who is bought in, they're committed, you can tell that they want to learn. I mean, whatever you can do to pull that out of them more, make sure you're not like too busy to pour into that. And it's really easy to be too busy. Speaking as a manager who has developed a few leaders on my team recently, and I can only imagine how busy you'd be as an owner.
I liked what you were saying a minute ago about just like focus on being a great CSR, not getting too far ahead of things, just focus on being the best you can possibly be at this thing. That will lead to other opportunities. Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing owners should look for from a manager is somebody who cares. What else are they looking for?
So I say first someone who cares because the skills for the most part can be taught.
Okay.
You can teach the skills or even have someone come in with the skills, but if they don't care and they're not passionate, like it's not going to work out long term because you have to have the why.
Yeah.
It's dry cleaning, right? It's not like no one really goes to college thinking I'm going to be a dry cleaner. You're hiring, for lack of a better word, random people who are looking for probably a part-time job.
Yep.
And with that, you'll find people sometimes, I think, that kind of find themselves at the dry cleaners, but they don't know what the next step is. They might want to have a career there. So that's the first step. But I would, of course, also look for qualities like they're dependable. You know, you can depend on them. Attendance, of course. Can they talk to people?
Yeah,
Can
that's
they?
a big one.
That's a really big one. Can they talk to, depending on if they're in production, maybe talking with customers isn't as important, but can they talk to team members? Can they handle like peer mediating and high conflict situations?
Yeah, no,
But
I
as
think
far as
those are all great
yeah,
qualities because you were definitely pushed to the limit and tested. 2019, you step into that role, and then something happened across the world in 2020. How did that affect your world, your business, and what helped you guys navigate through that from a management perspective?
I mean, it was all such a blur
Yeah.
because I still feel like I mean, look back at 2020, I'm like, what were we doing? Who was I? What was each day like?
Yep.
So I guess I did a lot of learning by fire throughout 2020. As many dry cleaners, we were constantly updating our hours. We were only open a couple days a week. So, and then of course, with that, combined with me being a brand new manager and not really knowing what I was doing in certain aspects, the turnover on my team was horrendous in 2020, 21, really stabilized more about 2 years ago. And we have a really solid team now. But I guess the biggest thing for me in 2020, I was working like a gazillion hours a week, right? Like
Sure.
60, 65 hours every week because we were losing staff because of the shutdown and probably a lack of knowledge yet on my end on how to keep them there, a combination. So I got even more frontline work than I did in the years before. And I guess I was most driven by how can I make this not a thing a year from now? How can I whittle myself down to 50 hours? How can I make people care? And I think because I was in it so much, I was able to do things and lead the team members in a way where they truly felt I was relating to them because I could.
Yeah, I think it helps, especially as a leader, having that get it done mentality when you were in their roles. That helps with some respect for sure. But you guys have an above and beyond budget. Did you come up with that, or is that something you just have learned along the way?
I cannot claim ownership of that. I believe
Okay.
our owner, Jeff, came up with it. We were doing that when I started at 19, so quite a while.
What is it that you guys are actually doing? Like, I've heard maybe couple cleaners do some sort of budget, but
Mhm.
can you explain that for the people?
Yeah, in simple terms, every CSR on the team, every quarter, has a $50 budget to spend on one customer of their choice. So we really make it clear that it's not about sales, right? It could be a customer who's moving away the next day. It's about really just creating like a genuine human connection. Now, the customers are obviously going to be very impressed by the dry cleaners. So that is part of the aspect, but the CSRs are trained to use the above and beyond program to bring a smile to someone's face and in turn bringing a smile to their face. So yeah, $50 budget for each CSR every quarter. We do it every quarter because I do a quarterly CSR team meeting
Okay.
Saturday mornings before the stores open every 3
Give us a
months.
few examples of what this would look like. So somebody listening to this, they like the idea. Oh, that sounds like, I'd love to implement that. Walk us through just a few different examples of how that's played out.
Sure. So we call them like the basic package of the above
Yeah.
and beyonds. You see a customer, they come in every Saturday, you know that they go to the local coffee shop down the street while they do their
Yep.
errands. You might get them a gift card. And to be clear, we don't necessarily encourage them to use the whole $50. It's okay if they do, but a lot of the time it's just a $20 gift card and a handwritten like it's in our language. The CSR lets the team members at their team know, hey, this is my above and beyond. It's for Mr. Smith. I noticed he has an order ready for pickup. Staple it to his order, please. So they make sure he gets it. And then the CSRs, they say something along the lines of when they're doing the pickup, hey, Mr. Smith, Tia noticed that you really, really like Starbucks every Saturday. So she got you a $20 gift card. And we do find the newer CSRs, it's a bit awkward. Of course, how do I tell this do they think it's for me? Are they going to think I'm hitting on them? So we make it clear that if they're more comfortable saying it's from the team, they can say that. If they have a great relationship with that customer, they can say it's from them.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, those are some good examples. I think that's a great thing that anybody listening to this can implement and bring just a smile to a few customers' faces.
Yeah, I like thinking outside of the box. The retention's huge.
Yeah, very, very big.
And we have a few that are, they really catch the attention and the customer posts it like on social media. A lot of CSRs like to do personalized wedding gifts if someone brings in their wedding gown or like their suit. So I'm not very creative in that way, but some team members really like take it and run.
Wow.
Details matter, right? The devil's in the details, but also people recognize when you actually care about the details. And so you have a team of people. I know that first and foremost, you said, man, we want people to care. And it's really caring about details, conversations that people had, things in garments. What have you done specifically to help a team become a little bit more detail oriented when it comes to their work? And have you seen that pay off with city cleaners?
Well, that's probably has always been one of our biggest struggles.
Okay.
I know that some companies, some dry cleaners call it marking in, we call it detailing. So it's like I tell them, hey guys, it's in the name. Pay attention to the details. But in all seriousness, it's just always something that we're fine tuning. And we're in a much better place the last couple of years with, less turnover. But I mean, we try all types of things.
Okay.
Right now we're using ChatGPT it's kind of cool. You can create a graphic of the different types of coats and how you describe them and what exactly they look like when you're marking them in. We have a detail manual at each of the stores. It's made by CSRs for CSRs, and it has pictures of garments with barcode and flag placements. It describes how to detail less common items like sheets and napkins. So CSRs know, if they're working by themselves at a drop store, they check the detail manual. If they still don't have an answer, they call me or their store manager. We also have a CSR weekly stats report that our plant store manager ultimately puts together with contributions from all the store managers of any detailing errors that the CSRs make that we catch so that they have that information to build off of.
Yeah. And there's a fine line between wanting to hold a team to a standard, micromanaging, especially when it comes to details. So what are some of the ways that you've held your team accountable to those? And how have you also rewarded them for those who have gone the extra mile and been detailed when it comes to a customer wanted this or they asked for this and they remember that conversation, or somebody followed very detailed playbook? How have you seen that play out?
So we actually, about a year ago, we created a system for rewarding CSRs who go above and beyond, and we call it clean cards. I was directly inspired by Puritan Cleaners. They're Q3P, if you're familiar.
Yep.
They have those little like business cards. So I created business cards out of our core values, which spell out clean values, the acronym. So just
Clean
because
values.
we
could. I like that.
So with that said, we have our little clean cards, and it took some time to really get the momentum going because, again, I'm not at every store all the time. I have a team of 17 CSRs that I don't know when they're doing, on the one hand, incorrect things, but I also don't know when they're doing great things. So the store managers and myself were really, really mindful of giving out clean cards. And when we give out a clean card, we have postcards with letterhead on it, City Cleaners letterhead. We just write a brief note of why they're getting it. It's for every department. So I help manage our routes. So one of our route drivers the other day, he came to me when he was loading and he said, "Hey, Bonnie, I noticed this stain on this shirt that I'm taking out. Do you think we should work on it again?" And I said, "There's no hope for that stain, but you know what we'll do? We'll add a stain tag to it." And I got back up to my desk and I thought, I got to make sure I get him a clean card.
Yeah.
So CSRs are really encouraged to like report each other when they earn a clean card. And then every quarter at the CSR meetings, another CSR in leadership, another store manager, she does a clean card raffle and they win a gift card.
Very nice. So a clean card gives you access to something. Is that correct? Or is it just a recognition?
It's a raffle entry, but
Okay.
it's mainly recognition. I've tried like some fancy things that require a lot of tracking, and people ultimately, at least on my team, I find they really, really just like it when they know that I or someone else in leadership notices that they
I love
went
that.
above
They're
and
part of
beyond.
a team. They're pulling their weight. And when they pull their weight and you notice them, it gives them, like you said, it's about momentum. But in the same way, like if they were never recognized, they feel like, oh man, does it even matter that I go the extra mile? So yeah, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about that.
What signal or how are you guys watching the different signals with like reviews or referrals or retention? Like, how do you guys track that and figure out if you're doing a good job? Is there any sort of data points you guys are looking at throughout the week and month?
Yeah, so we use Review My Dry Cleaner to track our reviews. And we have an employee who kind of semi-retired. She was in production for 2 decades, and she, for health reasons, she retired early, but she now works from home for us. So she tracks a lot of that data, so I don't have to. And she kind of takes on some things I don't have the capacity for. So yeah, we use Review My Dry Cleaner to track the reviews. And as far as retention goes, I'm still trying to work out a system that perfects. It's a little easier for our routes. We have 4 drivers. The stores, we have an average of like 300 new customers every quarter, a lot of new customers, a lot of one and dones. And other people can probably relate to this in the industry. It's sometimes challenging to figure out, okay, who do we put energy and dollars towards retaining and who don't we? What we ended up doing for retention, and although I can't give you an exact number on our retention, I can tell you what we've been doing the last couple of years. So our work from home employee, every single morning, she calls every new customer from the previous day, personally welcomes them, and offers them 50% off a comforter. So we're hitting that personal touch and hopefully getting them to bring in something other than clothes.
Wow.
It's been a really big hit.
You guys call back the next day?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I wonder how users are doing that right now. I can't imagine it's a super high number. I mean, for routes, it's a little bit easier because
do they answer?
I'd say on average half the time. Again, so Carrie, that's the team member's name. She works from home. So a lot of times they'll call back and it gets routed to the plant. So the CSRs of the plant know. Someone calls and they say, Carrie left a message. I say, just pull them up. If it says they're a new customer, just ask them what Carrie would have asked them. I mean, we've seen it mentioned in reviews. It's been a big hit.
Wow. That's putting the rubber to the road because that's a tough task to be consistent
And
on.
who's the one that calls?
Our work from home employee, Carrie. So she answers the phones like 8 to noon, Monday through Friday. And then she'll do some administrative things in that time, as well as the new customer calls.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. And in the demographic of service that you guys are providing, is this high end? Is it middle? It's not one price, I don't think, right? So where do you guys fit in that model?
So it is a combination. Our 5 stores are all at the farthest point about 30 miles away from one another. So it's not super spread out, but I always say each store's customer base has its own personality. This store's customers have this personality, etc. I mean, it really is a mix. We have a couple of stores with a lot of blue collar customers. And honestly, those stores we find do the best in sales post COVID.
Why do you think that is? Just
I
blue
think
collar?
working, a lot of office people that used to work in an office, white collar, now work from home, I would bet. People that are still working out in the field that need uniforms cleaned. We get a lot of pilots, welders, people that need their jeans wet pressed. So yeah, those stores have been doing better than the white collar areas. Not by a ton necessarily, but there's a difference.
Okay, so before we hit the record button, you were talking about a difficult conversation with one of your customers. How do you, and again, answering with the idea that those who are listening, if there's a system, how do you go about responding to difficult clients? When does a CSR escalate it? How are they trained to handle it? Is it the customer is always right? What is your philosophy at City Cleaners on dealing with difficult customers?
That's a really good question. And we have a tier system.
Okay.
So we have tier 1. Tier 1 is, and I'm going to take the CSRs out of this at this exact moment, but tier 1, our store managers, they handle start to finish. They don't even bring it to me. Tier 2, they can come to me. They're encouraged to come to me for advice if they need it. They might need some direction, but they ultimately own it and finish it. And tier 3 is escalated to Bonnie. I think that's the actual title. Now for CSRs on shift, they are encouraged, especially for the newer ones, they're encouraged to just make the customer feel confident it's going to be handled. So I tell them, your job is not to fix the issue. Your job is to take down all the information, make sure the customer knows it will be resolved, and to let me know so I can call them the next morning. 'Cause sometimes if you don't have the knowledge and the experience, you could mean well, but you might make it worse.
Yeah, there's a term that we love to share here with our CSMs. It is reassurance. Like, what is the client needing to be reassured about? And if they're heated, man, you just ruined one of their things. They don't know if they're going to get paid for it. They don't know if they have to go through a little lawsuit battle. They don't know how difficult. It's like just reassuring them, hey, we want to take care of it. We're going to take care of it to the best of our ability. I'm going to push it up to the store manager. They're going to contact you tomorrow. So that's kind of the way that you do it. So you do it in 3 tiers. One is the store manager deals with it. Tier 2, they talk with you about it. You kind of coach them if they need it. And then tier 3, you go ahead and deal with it. Now, when you're dealing with it, what's your frame of mind? Are you immediately trying to solve it? Are you customer is right, let's make them happy? What's going through your process? How do you kind of calculate that?
Fight the urge to want to offer solutions immediately because I know they want to be listened to.
Yep.
So
I love that.
Sometimes I have to stand up and pace while I'm listening, but I listen and I let them get it all out. And then the next thing I do is I apologize. I like to, if I have the opportunity, kind of repeat back like a bullet point of one of their concerns so they really know I listen, acknowledge that I understand why they're frustrated. I train the team to don't use words like angry or annoyed, say frustrated. And because if the issue gets to me, it's probably a bit complex. So I kind of frame it, tell them, hey, I'm going to let you know what I plan on doing to make this right or what the next steps are. I might be sending it to analysis at DLI. And then I explain the 2 outcomes of that possibly. But one of the things I do too, sometimes while I'm listening to the customer is preparing myself mentally, calming down, thinking about what I'm going to say. Everyone's different, and I have people in leadership who I hate when they get off the phone with a customer and they feel defeated. So there's always coaching to be done there because you're a human being. You've got to keep this customer happy, even if you're not giving them the answer they want. And you've got to get off the phone and be able to move on with your day because that's what I want for you.
what really stands out with everything that you said is that you guys are intentional about it. And I think that's where it begins. Like how we're going to have angry customers, we're going to make mistakes. When that happens, what is our philosophy on handling it? I like the 3 tiers, and I like the fact that you probably modeled that as well. I mean, you've been down that road. So, hey, we're going to listen first. We're going to repeat things back. We're not going to use certain terminology. And then we're going to apologize if we need to. We're going to take ownership of it, and just kind of puts a customer at ease of going, okay, I can calm down. Now let's get to a solution. But you're right. They love to vent. You ruin their life, and they want to make sure you know that. So,
Yes. And to be clear, our philosophy is not the customer's always right.
yep.
So I'm typically the one that gets to have those phone calls.
Yep.
Bon, have you ever noticed, at least, so I notice in our world that disagreements or some sort of friction a lot of times can make for a healthier relationship? Does that work out on your side? When you guys take it, the listen first, acknowledge and then solve kind of approach?
Does it like reduce the friction between me and the customer?
Does it ever actually work out where you guys have those customers for, an extended period of time after?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it depends on the customer too. If there's a customer who is a big spender and they've been using us for years and years, we might have something that we very obviously did not do anything wrong, like the dye bled for a manufacturer reason. I'll tell them that so that they know, but hey, I'm not interested in sending it to analysis. I just want to pay you. But yeah, it does. And even if the outcome, not all the time, but a lot of times, even if the outcome isn't what they wanted, if they are a customer who trusts us and already has a relationship with us, they do say like, I appreciate you talking me through it. Yeah, but not always. There's plenty of conversations where I leave them and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I really had to choose between, do we pay out a claim that we're not at fault for and set that precedent, or do I make sure this customer comes back? But now you've set that precedent,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. In the dry cleaning space, like you said, and you might have said it before we jumped onto this podcast, but you're hiring people that didn't have it as their goal to be working in the dry cleaning space. So you're working with people that are doing something that they didn't necessarily intend to do. So as you're building this team and you want to build a great team with the people that you have, there's that balance between compassion and this professional standard that we want to hold people to. And then there's that tension in between. So from a management perspective, how have you both, hey, I'm going to help you walk you through this? Because some people are like, hey, my dog's sick, I need to take off, right? And then you're like, man, we have a standard to hold here. Or, man, I broke up with my boyfriend, now I'm having a struggle day, and they're missing a lot of details throughout the course of the day. So where's the balance between compassion and professional standard, and what do you do to kind of mitigate that?
Well, that's a great question. And I feel I'm always figuring out the right balancing act. But honestly, I really try to act as like human first.
Okay.
But I have like a limitation.
Yep.
And I shouldn't say the company has a limitation, right? So as an attendance example, if someone has maybe something changed with their childcare, let's say they're a closer, right? I might talk with them and say, should I schedule you an hour later until this gets figured out? Or from here on out, if they're running late. There are some times where there isn't anything you can do and they're distracted and they're making mistakes and you just are looking at the reports the next day and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do I handle this? And I still try to be human first. I might call them because, again, I'm not on site with most of my team. I'll call them in the morning when it's slower. They won't have as many customers. Talk with them. There's been times where I've been on the phone with them and they're crying and, you know, we're trying to have as effective as a conversation that we could have in person over the phone, which we typically can. I can't sugarcoat it. It's not perfect all the time.
Yep.
But I would say if it's a CSR who has been here, a year plus, they're solid, they've shown that they care and they're consistent, they're going through something hard. Sometimes, maybe not everyone would agree with this. Owners probably wouldn't all the time. I'd rather take the loss as in maybe they missed a few buttons. Maybe they left a tissue in a pocket. I'm going to give them a few days. There's always a limitation though, right? So I'm going to give you space for a week, maybe. I'm going to make sure I check in with them after a week. And then I'll say something like, how can I support you to stay more focused? I totally understand why it would be difficult to stay focused right now. I might say things like that, I can't even imagine. But how can I support you? I noticed you left this in a pocket. I get why, but we have to minimize it now. So just having that conversation. And I mean, there's been CSRs, and it's typically CSRs who have been here a year or less. So honestly, that typically indicates more of like they're not a good fit for the job instead of they're just randomly going through something. That we do end up, following the protocol right up and termination.
Yeah.
But I always try to avoid that.
Here at Cleaner Marketing, it's like, I want you to know I care about you, but I also care about the business and I care about the team. And so if it affects you, then let's walk this through. If it begins to affect the business, then we're going to have another conversation. If it's detrimental or affecting the team, then that's going to be something that's going to be a little bit more serious. But the fact that they know that you care, you're there, and it's case by case because some take advantage of it and you're like, I don't got time for you to take advantage.
And I figure that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, really quickly, right? And then there's others who are like, I'm not taking advantage. I am just really having a tough time. And you're like, okay, well, let's get this to where it needs to go. And you walk it through. So thank you for sharing that. I think that will be very practical and helpful for anybody listening to this on how to best enter those situations, because you're hiring people that are not necessarily ambitious about this, but they can become ambitious about this being a career path.
So related to that, obviously there's always going to be exceptions. There's going to be people who are going to take advantage. But I find for the most part, if they know that you care, then they're going to be naturally motivated. So even if it might hurt temporarily, it usually has paid off for me in the long run.
Nope. Really well said.
And Bonnie, you guys have a number of stores. So how is it that you're able to, do you visit each of these every single week right now?
I don't.
Okay.
So typically I try to make it to, so we have 5 stores.
Mm-hmm.
Our offices are out of our plant, which also has a storefront.
And
so
how many store managers?
We have a store manager at each store, so including the plant. And that's recent. We just got a store manager at each store about 15 months ago. Been a game changer for me. So I make it to each store. It really varies. And I've actually sought out advice from other cleaners, asked how they manage going to each store, how often. And what I've heard from everyone so far is similar to what I'm doing, which is when I have time, I schedule it in, but I make sure to talk to everyone on shift each day over the phone. So I'm probably at each store once or twice every month.
Okay. And when you're walking in there, is there something that you can kind of feel or notice since you've been doing this for so long that tells you, hey, this is not right. There's something that's going wrong here. This is a good store. This is a bad store.
Yeah. Well, an obvious one, is it dirty? As in, is there dust buildup? Are we not cleaning regularly? Cleaning is obviously a big one. Is there a buildup of work? And I don't even mean bags to detail, but are there a bunch of old, we call them express bags, VIP bags? Are there a bunch of express bags built up that don't have an owner because you didn't get them on the day you racked the clothes? How does the conveyor look? Are there items on there that are too long and dragging? Why are they on the conveyor? Is it packed too full? How's the household line? Are the households that are ready not getting called like they should be so they get a reminder to pick them up? But I mean, I'm very grateful that right now, all of our stores, they really don't have those problems. We're at a point where the store managers are handling their operations consistently with help from me as needed. And I really just mainly need to help them with the big stuff or like making our operations more efficient.
Really well said. When you're in this industry, there is so much change, especially the amount of time that you've been in this industry. And you've probably seen a lot of good changes that have taken place. They always come with a risk. They always come with a certain level of fear. As somebody listening to this is wondering, man, I think this is the shift or change I need to make. Are you able, on the top of your head, to identify 1, 2, maybe 3 shifts that city cleaners made that you're like, I'm glad we did that because we took the step, we made the change, and we're better off because of it? Whether it's with your retail business, whether it's a product that you're offering, a shift in a service that you're offering, how you go about doing something. Can you give us a couple of examples if you have something at the top of your mind?
I do have a couple things off the top of my head. Laundromats. So I think it was 2019, we opened our first laundromat attached to our plant. And then a couple years later, we opened our second one attached to another drop store. So we have 2 laundromats attached to dry cleaners. I mean, as far as the people go, it's a lot more low maintenance than dry cleaning, a little more straightforward. So that's been great. They're run as a complete separate business than the dry cleaners, and fire restoration.
Okay, so those are 2 big shifts you made. So moving into the laundromat space and now fire restoration. Yep. Which requires usually, I mean, it's a team that you usually need to make sure that gets across the finish line, correct?
Yeah. Well, and Jeff, he also, when he bought CRDN, fire restoration, that's also being run as a complete separate business.
Okay.
So City Cleaners cleans the restoration textiles, but everything else is done off-site at a facility about 10 minutes down the road from our plant. So I really don't have to have anything to do with CRDN, but I've seen how much it's benefited the company and how much it's helped us grow.
Are those your stores? Are those all package plants or are they hub and spoke models?
So no package plants. We have one central plant.
Okay.
And the others, we call them drop stores.
So you guys have redundancy at the CRDN restoration plant if things go down at your current plant, right? Is that how you have the redundancy?
No, I wouldn't say that. The model is completely different, but we've never really run into that issue.
Okay. Well, that's great. You talk about, driving a why or finding a why with the team. So how do owners or leaders at the business, how do you feel like it's best to drive home that why for the team?
It took me a while to figure out how to do that. And I guess something that surprised me is it doesn't look very different for everyone like you might imagine it would and like I used to. I find that when CSRs are onboarding with us, as one example, once they attend their first quarterly CSR meeting, you're probably thinking as a first-time CSR meeting attendee when you get hired here, oh, great, 7 a.m., mandatory meeting, got to drive out to the plant and then go work after that. Or maybe you don't have to work. That's probably even worse. But once they go, they really do, they're engaged, they're awake. And I hope and I really do believe they leave that first meeting thinking, okay, they've met all the other CSRs. They've heard their fun stories. They've done a team building activity. It's a lot different than working out at a drop store training and wondering, okay, I'm putting this barcode here. Not sure why. I'm not sure why we, zip up the zippers on pants, but we're doing it. Really helps you start to put it together. I think education is a good way to give someone a why too, because of a company that you most likely randomly applied to for a part-time job, they're willing to invest in you to learn more. That would make you probably pretty important and valuable. So, for our part, we have an educational program that our CSRs can sign up for, and they do 2 full shifts in production. So they have more production knowledge to then take back with them to the customers.
After that shift in production, are they like, hey, I'd rather not go back to production?
Yes, we have a whole new appreciation. So funny, I've been here 18 years. And I created that education program. We actually took it off the ground early this year. And I went through the session with our production manager, Christine. She leads it. And I pressed my first pair of pants after 18 years here and used the spotting gun for the first time. I've been very front of house. So I was really excited to get in there. And the CSRs that we just do 3 people at a time. So it's intimate. We do Q&As during it, but I was in and out a bit because I had other things I had to get done that day. They're like, Bonnie, it's your turn on the spotting gun. And I said, I know, I'm not going to get out of it. But it was eye-opening, and it kind of made me feel, I don't know, like I should have taken the initiative to learn how to do some of these things earlier. So I'm glad that I did.
Oh, yeah, totally. A newfound respect for everything that goes on there. The complexity behind the counter is a lot more than most people would think. So getting towards the end here, there's a 19-year-old. This is you back in the day. You're starting this new job, not sure if something else is going to come around that will lead you to leave this place. But back when you're 19, what would you say to that other 19-year-old? And what do you think a good thing that the owner could say to pass along that, hey, like you're valued, this is a good opportunity for you to lean into?
Kind of a 2-part answer to that question. Something I think everyone loves to hear, especially if they're not feeling very confident, is I trust your judgment. Now, obviously, most people take that and they might make small mistakes, but it's worth the learning curve. There's rare occasions where they make a huge mistake where you're like, okay, actually, I'm not sure I do. But for the most part, it really works out. So I tell my team that, especially the younger ones, first job, like, I trust your judgment. And I know that when you don't trust your own judgment, you're at least going to call me. But I would tell the 19-year-old, fake it till you make it. Just make sure you're learning along the way. Fake the confidence. It'll give you the confidence. And also give the dry cleaning industry a chance. It's more interesting than you would think.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Final question too. And I'm going to do my best to set you up for this so that you don't feel like you're on the hot seat. But if somebody listening to this is an owner, they're going to pass this part of the podcast on to their manager. What would your encouragement be? 1, 2, 3 pieces of advice to say, hey, this is what would really make you a great manager of people, of the things that's under your care.
I know not to be redundant, but we mentioned this earlier, really be human first.
Yep.
That's the first one. And a specific example for that, and this might not work for every team, but speaking for myself, I very rarely turn down a request off.
Okay.
As long as it's made in the time frame it needs to be made in. I want to have a life. I would expect my team to have a life. And most of the time that comes back around on me. You know, if someone has something fun to do or important and they're solid and dependable, I mean, there's plenty of times where I'll go work their closing shift to give them the day off. But then they're going to, you know, in a
That
month
goes
or
a
so,
long
when
way.
someone calls off, they'll do the same thing for me. I really, really believe that. And it doesn't always work that way for every team, like I said, but I'm able to do that. I'm willing, and I find that it makes a big difference. And, you know, as far as being human, more so on that, even if busy days, bad days, I find if I take the 10 minutes to listen to a CSR having a bad day, even if I don't feel or believe I have the time, I mean, it's always worth it. If I feel like I don't have the time to have a conversation that's just about them, I leave feeling energized because I know I made that connection and they feel that much more, I guess, bonded with me. Another piece of advice is, and again, this depends on the size of the team, but if you can have some type of personal relationship with every CSR once they're onboarded in a natural way, that makes a big difference too. It makes a difference for the manager as well, because you're not coming in and you're like managing people that you don't know. You don't know what makes them tick. You don't know what's going to annoy them. It makes it easier for you.
Yeah.
All that comes from a place of caring. One thing that maybe I can entice you to add is, how do you run a tight ship? How do you make sure you're paid to make sure the team is efficient, productive, moving forward? So what one more piece of advice would you give to make sure that that ship is moving in the right direction?
Organization and systems. Big fan of that. When I first started managing the stores, we didn't have any SOPs, right? We didn't have a lot of systems. And as we've grown in the last few years, like I said, I like to have a life. I want to be able to travel and know I'm going to return to somewhat normal, operations. So SOPs, organization, visible for the rest of your team. And in addition to that, I find I avoid a lot of conflict and even a lot of like write-ups. I avoid a lot of that when I make the expectation extremely clear. Like the more simple and clear you can make an expectation, the easier your life's going to be. How can you demand excellence from someone if you don't define what excellence is to your company?
Sure.
It might not have been that clunky, but you get the gist.
Yep.
So that really helped me. And we have a lot of systems in place that now the store managers are responsible for checking at that like daily level, and they report to me at the weekly level. So that gives me a good way to keep my finger on the pulse of the stores without being bogged down in all the daily details.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Very well said. I think that will be a great little segment that somebody listening to this can just pass along to their manager and take that and do something with it. I think those 4 points will be really good. Organization and systems are vital to making sure you know if the team's healthy. Not just that we love each other, but that we're actually doing something good together. So anything on your end?
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting hazed over here.
Not hazed.
Every time I bring up this, I just want to ask these people, what's the craziest stuff that's going on?
Okay, yeah, and this is our off the clock.
Okay. All right. So now
It used to be somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
then at the end. We're going to push this thing all the way to the back, but we want to make sure we give Sam a chance to get some of these
This whole
stories
podcast
answered.
was created so we could figure out the craziest stories that were going on.
Well, I think she has some, so.
Yeah. So can you share a couple things that come to mind when you think of craziest experiences in the business, or even crazy customer, something that's come over the counter?
Yeah.
Do you have any Karens in your world?
Any what?
Debbie's. I've heard Karens and Debbie's.
Oh, Debbie's are now.
Debbie's
the
is
new-
like,
Yeah. Probably the craziest thing that's come through the door. I'll start with that.
All right, I love this.
Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, customer came through the drive-through at our plant, and this is, common. He had a pile of clothes in his back seat. So the CSR grabbed the pile, took it to the back to detail, and she found a duffel bag full of drugs in the pile.
It's what you've been waiting for.
Truly,
Beautiful.
I mean, it was
A duffel bag of drugs. That's crazy.
it was the type of duffel bag full of drugs where she's like, I don't know what. So
My
she
gosh.
she called him, right there. I guess he saw the caller ID and he picked up and said, I already know I'm on my way back. She's like, get it out of
My
here.
gosh.
I don't want it with me anymore.
He's still with you guys?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Spends a lot of money.
Loyal.
Wow, how about that?
There's so many customer stories. Unfortunately, you could write a book about them. But we had a customer tell a CSR they were going to decapitate them one time when they were mad. Some of the CSRs, they're so nice. She told me afterwards, and I said, so that's something where you should let me know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't mean it, but like, why would you say that? I mean, you'd have to take that as a threat. So
And then the CSR says, okay, I can't say that they're probably angry. I can see that you're frustrated a little bit. But I care about your health. Please don't kill me.
I also have $50 left on my credits for this month. I'm going to use them for you.
Let's
tell me.
not do it.
I'm
How
going
about
to
that?
decapitate you.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of customers. That just comes with the territory. Most of them are so nice, but I mean, that guy we're not going to do an above and beyond for, that's for sure.
Absolutely love it. Well,
Okay.
you made Sam's day off the clock questions. You gave some good answers for that. Bonnie, it has been a pleasure to be with you for this last hour. I think you've provided tremendous content, really good information, practical stuff. You brought it down from just a business thing to let's make this a human thing too. Let's not forget why we're in this. We're in this to serve our customers, but also serve our team members very well. You do both of those at a high level, and you're going to have a successful business. And you guys are proof of that. So thank you very much, Bonnie. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for your time,
thanks for
Bonnie.
having me.
We'd appreciate it if you guys thought about liking and subscribing to Cleaner Conversations. You can watch and listen at YouTube and Spotify, and then Apple Podcasts has just the audio. So again, please feel free to like and subscribe and follow along. We've got a lot of cool content coming that we are super excited about.
Yeah, and if you comment, Sam may reach out and say thank you.
We might.
Personal phone call.
Might
from
be a
Sam.
personal phone call.
Yes. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye.